The girl had just been reborn when she gave a thumbs up and declared she was done trying. From then on she slept through every class. Slept while her teammates fought monsters, because she had already been reborn 100 times. And no matter how hard she tried each round, she always ended up executed as the villain. In fact, on the 100th run she even triggered the hidden energy core on her back to self-destruct, hoping to take the story's protagonists down with her and break the cycle. After the explosion, barely alive, she thought it was finally over. Yet when she opened her eyes again, she was back in that all-too-familiar room. The endless loops had numbed her. She no longer remembered how long she'd been trapped, only the plot that came after. In the story, she was a villain who only survived until the mid-arc. No matter what she changed, she would still die miserably beneath the male and female lead swords. And after dying, she would be thrown back 100 years to this very day at age 13. Since she was doomed anyway, sleeping her way through felt much better. Just then, the door burst open with a bang. "Junior Sister Gi, it's time to go down the mountain and exorcise spirits." Gi tugged her blanket up, showing she had zero interest. But in the next second she froze. Right, that wouldn't work. She had tried that before. If she kept refusing, the result was always the same: go off script, and she would be trapped in this day forever. Damn heavens, I'm exhausted. You really want me to take the same path as my past life? Just wait. She then walked down the street with that I recognize no one's stride, familiar roads, familiar faces, and that familiar shout. "You worthless thing, you think you deserve to enter the Taiching sect? That jade slip, you probably stole it. Hand it over to young master." Her senior sister panicked seeing an outer disciple being bullied, but Gi stayed unervingly calm. Of course it was him again. Gu Junchao. In all 100 previous loops, Gi had saved this bullied boy every single time, yet this ungrateful brat always pointed his sword at his own benefactor. Just as her senior sister wanted to call for help, Gi chuckled. "No need to bother, junior brother. They asked for me after so many cycles. You've treated me quite well. This time let me return the favor. Even if the Heavenly King comes, it won't save you. Junior Sister Gi, how could you?" But when she caught Gi's expression, she instantly changed tone. The junior sister need me to kick him for you?" Meanwhile, Gu Junchao, lying on the ground, was utterly confused. "Fellow Taoist, why did you kick me?" Hearing that made Gi even angrier. "I saved you 100 times, fed you, clothed you, and raised you into a damn ingrate. What rotten luck." Seeing her fury, Gu Junchao cautiously guessed. "Fellow Taoist, do we perhaps have some kind of grudge?" Hearing that, Gi gave a mischievous grin. "Of course, why wouldn't I save you? If it weren't for that kick, he would have slapped you silly. No need to thank me. Speaking up when I see injustice is only natural." With that, she turned to leave. Her senior sister chimed in. "Junior sister is right, without that kick, you'd have taken one straight to the face." But Gu Junchao wasn't stupid. Who saves someone like that? Suddenly, a sharp pain struck his head and an image, strange yet familiar, flashed through his mind. Before he could think further, he collapsed in pain. Later, at the Taiching sect's Mortal World relay station, Gi arrived late. Sitting above was her master, Lord Huaishan, the person she once respected the most. Yet because of her villainous fate, this master had never fully trusted her. Huaishan now asked with concern, "Girl, where have you been? Why didn't you tell your master?" Gi replied, "Something delayed me, master. If you must punish me, then so be it." Huaishan paused. "Punish you? Why would I? I heard you saved a prospective disciple. Saving a life is a great virtue, just accumulating merit." Huaishan was quite relieved to hear this. In the past, Gi cared only about cultivation and becoming number one under heaven, and he had always worried she was too proud. One setback would push her into extremes. But now it seemed he had worried too much. So he laughed warmly. "Looks like you've grown. Has your ambition changed?" "What ambition? Sleeping for 100 years, does that count?" Seeing Gi fall silent, Huaishan didn't press further and took her along to perform the exorcising ritual for the day. Once she parted ways with her master, she immediately went into full "I'm done" mode and fell fast asleep, only to be caught red-handed by a passing senior sister. The senior sister muttered non-stop, "No way, impossible," because the Gi she knew was a cultivation maniac. Yet here she was, slacking off and drooling all over the place. She even poked Gi's cheek just to confirm it was really her. Startled awake, Gi instinctively leaned backward, and Gu Junchao hurried forward to steady her. The moment their eyes met, Gi shoved him away, thinking, "Stay away from the male lead. enjoy a life of glorious slacking. Gu Junchao was just about to speak when Gi cut him off. Thanks, but no need next time that I can handle myself. With that she picked a random step, sat down and went right back to sleeping as if the world didn't exist. It wasn't until 3 days later, when the exorcism ritual ended, that Gi lazily regrouped with her senior sister. Just as they were about to return to the sect, Gi suddenly turned to look at Gu Junchao. I remember there's a main plot here. I think I'm supposed to invite him into the inner sect, but if I don't follow the storyline, I'll stay stuck in this day forever. With that thought, she strode straight toward Gu Junchao, holding her sword and wearing a smile that looked a bit too friendly. Young man, I see great potential in you. Would you like to become an inner disciple of my sect? Hearing this, Gu Junchao's cheeks flushed slightly. Why was she suddenly being so warm? But he still refused. Thank you for the offer, fellow Taoist, but I will enter the inner sect through my own ability. When the outer disciples saw Gu Junchao refuse, they immediately scolded him. What are you saying? Hurry and accept senior sister Gi's kindness. Don't disappoint her. Only Gu Junchao understood. Senior sister didn't actually care about him. But then, why did she break precedent and invite him into the inner sect? When he looked up again, Gi casually replied, "All right then, do your best," yawned and walked away as if nothing mattered. Done. Whether he comes or not, whatever. Suddenly, she felt a strange force eroding her consciousness, and she wobbled before collapsing. Alarmed, Gu Junchao rushed over and picked her up to check on her, only to discover she was simply asleep. Later, at the entrance of Qingyun Peak, a senior sister saw people carrying a sedan chair back and hurried over. Did something happen to Gi? But when she lifted the curtain, she saw Gi sleeping like a dead pig. She immediately grabbed her ear and scolded her. Unbelievable. Since when did you sleep this much? You have sword class later. Get yourself ready. A half-asleep Gi mumbled a response. But when she caught sight of the plaque above the gate, her gaze suddenly sharpened. A beam of sword energy shot from her fingertip, blasting the plaque into dust. She destroyed the plaque her master had personally gifted, then told senior sister to replace it with a new one, named Sleep Hall. Lin Yu was shocked, saying this was disrespectful to their master. Gi only replied lazily, "Didn't you want me to attend the sword class? Change it and I'll go." Hearing that, Lin Yu was utterly stunned, thinking as long as junior sister stops slacking, "Master, please just endure it." She grabbed Gi's hand and said, "Deal. I'll have the junior brothers change the plaque. You go attend class properly." But surprisingly, even with a golden core cultivator lecturing, Gi still managed to snore away. She only woke up when a loud bang from a sword sheath hit her desk. Wiping her drool, she greeted casually, "Morning, teacher." Master Yunju glared at her darkly. "Since you're awake, explain, what is sword bone? Fail to answer and you'll be punished." Gi yawned and replied, "Sword bone is Abba, Abba something." Yet somehow she got the answer exactly right. Meanwhile, Gi thought, "I've been reborn hundreds of times. A question like this is so easy." Seeing she answered perfectly, Yunju couldn't punish her and could only dismiss the class, telling Gi to get some rest. During the break, disciples discussed the upcoming mountain opening ceremony. Other sects would be attending too. But Gi knew well. Counting her, the 4 cannon fodder villains, had the 4 villains would gather again. Come if you want, she'd just follow the plot then slack off. She yawned and walked out. "Gi, where are you going? 2 more classes left." "That question drained me too much. I need rest." Soon she reached the cliff peak, letting the wind brush past her. Then she lay flat on the ground. What a blessed spot. Perfect for a nap. Soft, rhythmic snores followed. The next second, a shadow darted out from a corner. With no one around, this is the perfect moment to strike. When Gi finally woke up, her body felt a little itchy. "You're about to be buried by me. Aren't you scared?" She heard and looked up at a white-haired lowly. The red feather illusion bird. Technically a spirit beast, but capable of speech, taking human form and drinking alcohol. Rumor had it that century-old Clear Dew was buried atop Taiching Sect's study peak, so she often sneaked over to dig some up. Hearing Gi's words, the white-haired lowly froze. A mere terrifying stage 8 cultivator could actually see through her true form? "Speak. Which hidden senior are you disguising yourself here?" But the only response she got was long, steady breathing. Panicking, she yanked Gi out of the soil. "Don't sleep. Wake up already." Right then, Huaishan happened to pass by, the shouting instantly catching his attention. When he arrived, he saw Gi dangling from the lowly's hand, breathing steadily, apparently fainted that he barked, "Red feather illusion bird. Release that child." Seeing the newcomer's strength, the lowly panicked. "Crap. If I get caught, I'll be forced into a contract with this smelly man." She looked at Gi in her hand and suddenly had a brilliant idea. "If I form a contract with her, me as the master, her as the servant, I can dissolve it whenever I want. I'm such a genius." She activated a formation and a golden crow phantom wrapped around the two of them. Huaishan was horrified. This red feather illusion bird intended to contract with Gi, but Gi's cultivation was far too low. She might be devoured by the spirit beast's backlash. Meanwhile, sleeping Gi felt a force continually invading her consciousness. The next second she snapped her eyes open and said coldly, "You, worthy of contracting me?" The formation shattered instantly and exploded violently. What happened? Did the contract succeed or not? Everyone was confused. When the dust cleared, Gi irritably brushed off her clothes. "I was sleeping just fine. Why is some bird trying to contract me? Must have gotten it backwards that if anyone's contracting anyone, it should be me contracting the bird." But when she looked up, she saw a whole crowd staring at her. "What the? Why so many people?" Behind her, the white-haired lowly kept mumbling, "Impossible, impossible." And the next moment she got caught in a beast trap net and couldn't break free no matter how she struggled. Huaishan rushed over, worry all over his face as he held Gi's hand. "My disciple, are you all right? Especially during the contract attempt." "Master, don't worry that I didn't contract with her." The white-haired lowly exploded. "Why reject me? I can give you tons of resources, enough to push you straight to the golden core realm." Gi calmly waved her off. "No thanks, that I'm going back to sleep. No wait, I mean, back to cultivating. That stupid bird wants to contract with me. If it alters the plot, I'll get thrown into the loop again." But that afternoon when she woke up, a red blur drifted in front of her. Turns out it was that stupid captured bird. Gi immediately shut her eyes tight. This is a dream. Definitely a dream. So this is the beloved disciple of the Venerable. Don't worry, she's just exhausted. Since you negotiated terms with the sect master, we won't treat you poorly. Still pretending to sleep, Gi stiffened inside. What terms? Don't tell me it involves selling my soul. If I agree to this stupid bird, I better not wake up back at the beginning of the story again. No way, she had to make the first move. She shot upright, then flipped her blanket off in one dramatic motion. With a loud thud, she dropped to her knees before Huaishan, grabbing the hem of his pants as she wailed, "Master, please take this stupid bird away. You can take her for walks or whatever, just don't let her live with me." Huaishan froze, embarrassed that it's not that he didn't want to help. This red feather illusion bird had simply offered too much. Seeing her master's bitter expression, Gi realized she couldn't refuse anymore. She muttered, "Fine. If I still see you tomorrow morning, then you can stay." Then she shoved the red-feathered bird. "Move. Don't interrupt my sleep. Why you dare lay a hand on me?" A loud boom. The next moment Gi was tossed straight out of the room. "Unbelievable. I only sat on your bed. It's not like I sat on your grave. Just wait. One day I'll train you properly." Passing by, Lin Yu heard this and instantly drew her sword. "Who are you, and who exactly are you planning to train?" But the red feather illusion bird caught the strike effortlessly. "And who might you be?" The next second, Gi suddenly stepped between them. Lin Yu. Red feather illusion bird. Introductions complete. Hearing this, the red feather illusion bird stomped angrily. "Stop calling me bird this, bird that. My name is Hongji." Lin Yu heard the name and finally sheathed her sword. She turned to ask her junior sister what was going on, only to see Gi already asleep and slowly sliding toward the ground. She rushed to catch her while Hongji unhelpfully asked, "Did she die?" "Get lost. Even if you died, my junior sister wouldn't." With that, she carried Gi back to her room. The next morning, Lin Yu came early to wake Gi for class. Hongji peeked in through the doorway, then swaggered inside humming a tune. "This courtyard is so shabby. This room is so plain. This bed is so hard. Get out, you're so annoying." But the next second Gi froze. Why could she still see Hongji? Something was wrong. Because deviating from the main plot should have sent her back to the start of the story. Yet when the next morning arrived, time hadn't reset. Still confused, she was dragged off by Lin Yu to morning class. The beautiful instructor was teaching them how to refine pills. Gi zoned out completely. "Please. I trained for that ungrateful brat 100 lifetimes that there's no pill I haven't made, proper or improper." When the instructor said, "Begin," Lin Yu carefully selected her herbs, while Gi simply tossed hers into the cauldron. She spun her finger lightly and whispered, "Good night, Makapaka," as a surge of spiritual energy wrapped around the furnace. And then she promptly fell asleep. The instructor was annoyed. How dare she sleep during something as important as pill refining? But when she walked closer, she noticed the spiritual energy around the cauldron hadn't stopped. Could this actually be a genius's refining method? Just then, Gi jolted awake. What the? Did I just break through in my sleep? A moment later, she realized it was because too much spiritual energy had gathered during the pill refinement. She straightened up and quickly formed hand seals to suppress the raging energy inside her. But the cauldron was far too low grade. With a loud bang, it shattered under the pressure of her immense power. A brilliant golden light burst from Gi's body. Lin Yu was stunned speechless. That's the glow of a sword bone. Congrats, junior sister. I knew you were a genius, breaking through while napping. But the beautiful instructor focused on something else entirely. She stared at the pill on the table. Gi actually refined a pill while sleeping, an actual chi-boosting pill? Meanwhile, Gi wanted to cry. Not only did I fail to suppress my realm, I even refined a pill? That completely violates my commitment to slacking off. No, she had to hide before trouble found her. Under everyone's stunned gaze, she sprinted toward the door. To avoid being seen, she vaulted over a wall, only to land in front of Gu Junchao sweeping the grounds. She nodded politely. Sorry, passing through. Gu Junchao looked up, surprised his senior sister greeted him and replied obediently, "Hello, senior sister." Gi froze. Wait, shouldn't this guy be in class? Whatever, since she was here, she might as well stick to the plot. Aren't you supposed to be in class? I just finished that. I'm heading back to meditate. Did you eat? Not yet. Then eat early. And the two of them stared awkwardly at each other for 2.5 whole minutes. Gi glanced at Gu Junchao's room and thought, this place looks perfect for a nap. She decided to sneak in and freeload some sleep. When Gu Junchao finished meditating and came back with tea, he found Gi curled up under his blanket, fast asleep, completely unfazed by the fact it was a man's room. He panicked inwardly, "Please don't drool on my blanket." Just then, sleeping Gi rolled over. He rushed forward and caught her in time, holding the still sleeping Gi. A faint smile appeared in his eyes as he recalled the day she fell asleep sitting upright. He gently set her back on the bed and tucked her in. When Gi groggily woke up, Gu Junchao already had bowls and chopsticks prepared. "Senior sister, you're awake? That I made noodles for you." Gi frowned. "Oh no. These noodles are dangerous. Only the heroine is supposed to eat his cooking. If I eat them, the plot might break." She turned away immediately. "Thanks, but I'm not hungry." But then she reconsidered. "Avoid suspicion, yes, but I should still push the plot forward. The sooner I finish, the sooner I can slack off again." She cleared her throat. "If you run into trouble with your cultivation, you can come to me." Then she pulled out a mirror. "Use this artifact to contact me." Once Gu Junchao accepted the item, Gi headed for the door. But the moment she stepped outside, her eyelids dropped, and with a loud thud, she collapsed into sleep. Gu Junchao looked over when he heard the sound. He froze. Whoa, senior sister fell asleep instantly again. He crouched beside Gi, remembering the last time he saw something like this, which was also the last time. Staring at her peaceful sleeping face, he subconsciously reached out and poked her cheek. The next moment, Gi snapped awake. "What are you doing?" Gu Junchao stiffened awkwardly on the spot. Gi stared at him, internally ranting. Well, you thick-browed, white-eyed wolf, did I end the last life you ignored me, and now you dare take advantage the moment you get a chance?" Gu Junchao pointed to himself, confused. "Senior sister, are you afraid of me?" Gi replied with full seriousness while lying through her teeth. "Of course not, senior sister likes you the most." Unexpectedly, Gu Junchao believed it. "I understand your expectations that I'll enter the inner sect at the opening ceremony." No, you didn't understand anything at all. This kid's memories are all wrong. The plot says he should enter the inner sect next year, that we must follow the script. Just then, a group of disciples gathered outside. "Look, isn't that senior sister Gi, a genius who reached foundation at 13? Not knowing any of this, Gu Junchao stepped protectively in front of her. But Gi immediately shoved him aside. "Move, they're here to admire me." Wow, fame really hits out of nowhere. But I can't deny, it feels pretty great. Before long, a few disciples came carrying a sedan chair. Inside it, Gi was sound asleep. In her dream, she faintly heard her master's voice. and only then did she slowly open her eyes. Seeing the sect leader and several elders standing before the sedan, she wobbled to her feet and bowed. The sect leader didn't mind her state at all. He went straight to the point. I called you here today to let you enter the sword tomb and choose a sword. Hearing this, Gi frowned at what's wrong with these people. Why is no one following the plot? Looks like I'll have to fix this mess myself. She stepped forward and bowed again. Thank you for the sect leader's kindness. But this disciple just made a breakthrough, and my understanding of swords is still shallow that I'm willing to give this spot to someone else. The sect leader became even more pleased with her. Just go pick. Every sword in the sword tomb is top-notch, and if you happen to choose a great expert sword, wouldn't that be a huge win? Yi instantly felt pressured that I'm just a cannon fodder villain, that a great expert sword is useless to me. Just as she was about to refuse again, Huaishan stepped forward and said, Huaishan thanks the sect leader on behalf of my disciple. After everyone left, Yi tugged on Huaishan's pants hem, fully prepared to be scolded. Unexpectedly, Huaishan gently patted her head. I know what you're thinking, but you can't refuse in public. No matter what sword you pick, your master won't blame you. Off you go. I won't delay your sleep. Ahem, your cultivation. With that, he turned and walked away. But the recent string of odd events left Gi a bit depressed. First, that annoying bird latched onto her, then that white-eyed wolf cooked noodles for her, and even the elders of the sect were suddenly so kind. Everything I used to beg for I never got. Now that I've embraced slacking, they all come to me. Is this the final form of being a slacker? Suddenly, a rustling sound caught her attention. A man popped his head out, hanging upside down from a tree. Junior sister, what are you doing here? It was senior brother Shwani, the genius who reached the golden core stage in just 2.5 years. Curious, he asked why Gi wasn't cultivating. Gi replied with absolute seriousness despite talking nonsense. As long as there's a sword in my heart, everything I do is sword training. Shwani nodded in admiration. As expected of junior sister Gi, that I heard you advanced to foundation establishment, that I haven't congratulated you yet. Gi pointed at him and advised, Senior brother, you should worry about yourself. You spend every day teaching others swordsmanship. You barely have time to cultivate. But Shwani didn't mind that he believed breakthroughs after the golden core weren't easy anyway, so he might as well help junior disciples. Looking at such a kind senior brother, Gi felt a twinge of guilt that in her previous life he had died because of her. She didn't want the same thing to happen again. So she called out, Senior brother. When Shwani turned around suspiciously, a magical artifact landed right in his hand. He immediately understood her intention. Then thank you, junior sister. Don't mention it, you should have it. Later, at the outer gate forbidden grounds of Qingyun Peak, Gu Junchao was quietly cultivating when the commotion outside caught his attention. Look, it's senior sister Gi. Why did she come to our outer gate? Why else? She must be looking for Gu Junchao. Not gonna lie, Gu Junchao is pretty handsome. I think I could, stay away from me. Hearing that, Gu Junchao's face flushed red, afraid senior sister might misunderstand him. At that moment, Gi had already reached the door, annoyed by the gossiping disciples. I'm here to follow the plot and clock in. Why are they making me look like some little simp? For the mission I'll endure. But just as she knocked, a voice inside told her to come in. What the heck? I used to beg for ages before he'd let me in. Now the door is wide open. This is way too easy, it feels wrong. Thinking about how far the plot had derailed irritated her again. I just want to slack off and follow the script. But none of you are playing your roles. Forget it. When in doubt, take a nap. She then immediately crashed on Gu Junchao's bed. Meanwhile, Gu Junchao stood there confused. What's going on with senior sister? Could it be? The next second, Gi smelled something fragrant. She followed the scent and saw Gu Junchao pulling out a bowl of noodles from who knows where, asking whether she wanted to eat. Gi snapped awake. What are you doing? I'm not the female lead. These noodles are a death flag for me. Gu Junchao hadn't expected her to dislike his noodles so much, and his expression dimmed. I thought you would like it. Seeing his reaction, Gi forced a smile and said, That's not what I meant. It's just, you and this bowl of noodles aren't fated. Hearing that, Gu Junchao looked utterly baffled, looking exactly like a Gu Junchao shit. What does that even mean? Then he nodded to himself. I get it. I forgot to add chili. Today was the sect's opening ceremony, and Gi had been dragged there by her senior sister to watch. One person was excited, one was miserable. Gi just wanted to go back to sleep. Seriously, you're so young and all you think about is sleeping? Suddenly, the crowd erupted. The cause was none other than Jinfeng Continent's #1 beauty, fairy Nanxue. In Gi's memory, Nanxue was also one of the cannon fodder characters, though not a true villain. Nanxue's master wanted the position of Wenling Palace's sect leader, while the female lead Hua Longyue was the sect leader's disciple, so the two had some inevitable friction. Gi then scanned the area looking for the other cannon fodder characters. Long Shu, a late Golden Core cultivator, looked friendly with the female lead and had even helped her before. Yet behind the scenes he was the boss of an assassin group. Since he once attempted to assassinate Gu Junchao, he was eventually hunted down by the male and female leads. Thinking about it, the kid was pretty pitiful. At that moment, Long Shu sharply sensed someone watching him, but the second he turned around, the gaze vanished. Ah, senior sister, you were right. Huh, what did I say? The next second, a loud voice boomed from the stage. The host announced the beginning of this year's opening ceremony, an outer sect disciple tournament. Out of 8,000 disciples, only the top 100 could enter the inner sect. At that moment, Gi secretly activated her spiritual power. A real-time image of Gu Junchao appeared. Her senior sister was surprised. Junior sister, you need to open your heart. I don't want my little cabbage stolen by a pig. Gi snapped back. Stolen my ass, don't talk nonsense. I've been killed by this guy several times. How could she not care? But what she cared about even more was why he was the protagonist. She had such outstanding talent, yet could only be cannon fodder. Thinking this made her stumble forward a bit. The next second, the projection vanished with a whoosh, leaving behind a terrifying shadow. Whoa, junior sister, why do you look like someone abandoned by a scumbag? Suddenly, countless red feathers fell from the sky, and Hongji strutted onto the stage in dramatic fashion. The crowd whispered that Taixing sect sure hid deep, though no one knew if this bird planned to join Crazy Thursday. Hongji then explained the rules of the opening ceremony. These feathers were entry tokens, 100 in total, each guarded by a cultivator. Any disciple who snatched a feather could enter the inner sect. Yi originally wanted to sneak off and take a nap, but when Hongji scattered the feathers, she sensed something wrong. Her instinct screamed, this guy was planning trouble. One moment she thought, what's it got to do with me? The next, feathers drifted straight toward her. I was wrong. I don't want anything to do with feathers. But before she got far, she crashed straight into a man dressed in black. Rubbing her nose, Gi grumbled, who did I just hit? So unlucky. Then she noticed the guy was black from head to toe. She instantly recognized him as a cultivator from the Tai Sui sect. They specialized in mechanisms and puppets, one of the most troublesome among the 5 great sects. And he too held a feather, meaning he was joining the ceremony. Her senior sister patted her shoulder. Knew it, you got a feather. Mentioning this sad topic made Gi burst into tears. That turkey set me up. I'm so wronged. Senior sister, can you take my place? Before she finished, a white light swallowed her whole. When she opened her eyes again, she found herself teleported into the trial grounds. Hongji, you wait for me. When I get back, I'm making chicken stew. She looked at the glowing red feather in her hand, thinking she'd grab some random outer sect disciple later and hand it off. Then she leapt onto a treetop. But when she looked up, she was stunned to see Long Shu sitting on that same tree. She understood what kind of person Long Shu was, but they weren't close at all. What a coincidence, spy. Gi gave a symbolic greeting and bolted. But when she glanced back, Long Shu was still following. Gi assumed the girl was just directionally challenged. So she called out, hey handsome, I don't know this trial ground either, that if you keep tailing me I'll call the cops. Then Gi noticed a few Karami disciples ahead, complaining that the trial was too hard. Outer sect disciples only reached up to Chi refining stage 5. How were they supposed to snatch feathers from inner sect disciples? They even heard Golden Core experts from other sects were participating. How could little Chi refining rookies like them compete? Up in the tree, Gi grinned from ear to ear when she heard that. Perfect. Time for me to deliver a feather across 1,000 miles. Small gift, deep affection. So she immediately jumped down, but just as she was about to speak, someone covered her mouth and dragged her behind the tree. Gi unhappily pushed the person away and demanded, what are you doing? Long Shu seriously stated that cheating was not allowed. I'm not. Don't talk nonsense. The rules never said we can't proactively give the feather away. Long Shu retorted instantly. The rules said if disciples catch us, you giving away your feather counts as cheating. Being exposed so directly made Gi annoyed. Why does this guy always tell the harsh truth? Whatever, time to fully slack off. I'm done pretending. So what if I give it away? Luck is part of cultivation. Whoever gets my feather means they've got good fortune. Long Shu was speechless. The rumored prodigy who reached foundation establishment at 13 turned out to be like this. As Long Shu was about to lecture her again, Gi suddenly pulled a chest pad from her robes, then lay down and slept like nobody else existed. Meanwhile, the elders watching the live broadcast exploded. Gi failed to give away the feather, so she just lies down. This disciple is truly lawless. As Gi's master Huaishan hurried to defend her. Elders, I know you're anxious. Please don't be. Actually, she's cultivating. Meanwhile, Gi had barely lain down when a voice startled her awake. A handsome guy with a very talkative mouth cupped his fists and greeted her. I am Yusun. You must be the prodigy who reached foundation establishment at 13. Then he turned to Long Shu, the handsome one, and asked, and you? Mind introducing yourself? Long Shu merely glanced at him and said nothing. As a natural chatterbox, Yusun wasn't bothered at all. Why so quiet, you two? Let's chat. Build some friendship. Gi couldn't sleep with Yusun's non-stop babbling. She sat up helplessly and looked at him. Face. Truly handsome. Mouth. Truly lethal. No wonder he died because of that mouth in my last life. If I were the heroine, I'd kill him too. Then taking advantage of his distraction, she grabbed her pillow and bolted. Me. Build bonds with the big villain. Yeah, right. With what feather? Yusun remained calm. Junior sister, why are you running? I burned incense on you myself. No matter where you go, I can track you. Hearing that, Gi almost cursed out loud. This guy's nose is sharper than a dog's. He'll smell me anywhere. What's the point of running? Fine, I'm slacking off right here. She sat straight down and pulled out her precious little sketchbook. The two men looked at her in confusion. Is this also a form of cultivating? Gi casually bullshitted. If cultivation is in the heart, then whatever I do counts as cultivating. Just then someone called senior sister, and Gi couldn't help thinking this book was insane. Reading a story with built-in voice acting. But why did it sound so familiar? Only when Yusun reminded her someone was calling did Gi turn around in confusion. Why is the male lead showing up at a villain meetup? Startled like she'd been injected with chicken blood, Gi yanked the other two along and bolted. A wild male lead had spawned. Run now or get wiped out. After sprinting 30,000 meters, Gi finally let go of the two guys. According to the normal plot, these two villains weren't supposed to meet the male lead yet. She wiped the non-existent sweat off her face and thought, as long as I run fast enough, the male lead can't catch me. Suddenly, a sweet voice said, Meng Junior sister, a young man seems to be looking for you. I brought him over. Gi's heart instantly dropped. Like rusty gears turning, she stiffly twisted her head. Sure enough, Nanshui Fairy and Gu Junchao were right there. Gi felt so mad she wanted to swear. Nanshui, wake up. You fell for Gu Junchao at first sight, got disfigured, got struck by lightning, and your ending was even worse than mine. At that moment, Gu Junchao cut off her thoughts. Senior sister, so that's why you ran so fast. Then he looked at the two men beside Gi and finally understood. She didn't dislike men, she just didn't like him. Hearing this, Gi felt a chill up her spine. If I don't run, am I supposed to hand him my head? Still, she put on a gentle smile. Kid, don't overthink it. It's just that we have feathers on us. If you get them too easily, what will the elders think? I don't want to ruin your future. But the next second, Gu Junchao pulled a feather out of his sleeve. As for the token, senior sister, I already got mine. Gi was stunned, her jaw nearly dropping. Where did he get that feather? Fairy Nanshui answered for him. Junior sister Meng's disciple is truly impressive. I let my guard down for one moment and he snatched my feather. Then she excused herself and left. Hearing the praise didn't cheer Gi up at all. Wasn't Nanshui supposed to fall for Gu Junchao at first sight? Why did she leave? Am I the only one following the script? When she snapped back to reality, she saw the chatterbox edging up to the male lead. Brother, you're insanely strong. You even grabbed Fairy Nanshui's feather. Gi felt her mind go blank. Why are the villains and the male lead chatting so happily? I need to ditch these people. If I don't run now, I'll worry myself to death. How am I supposed to slack off like this? So while no one was paying attention, she quietly hid her aura and prepared to slip away. But the moment she stepped out, Gu Junchao spotted her. Senior sister, where are you going? Gi froze for half a second, then used every bit of strength she had to run. Hearing movement, Long Shu stopped cultivating, got up, and chased after her. Gu Junchao followed too. Only the chatterbox stood there, dumbfounded like, well, a chatterbox, before deciding to just run after them. Gi glanced back helplessly, thinking these three clingy shadows were honestly driving her crazy. She leapt onto the wall only to hear arguing below. A mere cheerifying stage 2 wants to fight us for it? Earlier Gu Junchao grabbed a feather and vanished in a blink. You showed up at the perfect time, so let the brothers vent a little. The girl, eyes brimming with tears, explained, I was just passing by. I never meant to fight you for the feather. And senior brother Gu won his feather with his own skill. But those troublemakers didn't care. If it's not for the feather, then why are you here? One said, reaching out his filthy hand. Before he could touch her, that dirty hand was smacked away by a falling meteor stone. The next second, the man screamed in pain. Bastard, sneak-ecking me. Come out and fight one-on-one if you've got guts. Yi chuckled. You sure? Don't regret it later. And bullying a little girl, what kind of skill is that? When the girl looked up and saw who had arrived, her eyes lit up and she sweetly called out, Senior Sister Meng. The troublemaker trembled all over. A senior sister, you don't misunderstand. We were just passing by. My mom called me home for dinner. Then he fled like a kicked mutt. Yi didn't bother with those clowns. She just wanted to shoo away annoying flies. But the girl didn't leave. She thanked Yi for saving her and declared she wanted to become someone like her. Yi's eyes shifted slightly. She never expected a big villain, like herself, to become someone's role model. If it were her past self, she might have kept the girl by her side. But now she only wanted to slack off. The girl wasn't discouraged by Yi's coldness. Instead, she said firmly, Senior sister, my name is Su Jiangjiang. I'll definitely work hard to enter the inner sect. Hearing that name, Yi froze for a moment and immediately asked which Jiang it was. Su from Su Jiangjiang and Jiang from Su Jiangjiang. As soon as the girl said that, Yi stepped closer, curiously studying the young girl before her. So you're Su Jiangjiang. A vicious villainess like her actually had a cute little fangirl. Yet Jiangjiang's fate was tragic. She was assaulted and murdered by a rogue cultivator. Her corpse refined into a puppet by a Taizhuiling cultivator, then sent to assassinate the heroine Hua Longyue. But after the heroine learned of Jiangjiang's suffering, she restored Jiangjiang's consciousness. Only after being reborn did Yi realize Jiangjiang had actually idolized her. No wonder Jiangjiang later split paths with the heroine. Jiangjiang saw Yi's serious expression and assumed she had said something wrong and made her senior sister unhappy. Flustered, she tripped over her own feet. Luckily, Yi reacted quickly and caught her. At that moment, Yi noticed the restriction on the feather had disappeared. She then recalled the trial's rule. If an outer sect disciple touched the feather holder, it counted as a successful snatch. So she simply handed the feather to the bewildered Jiangjiang. Unfortunately, the three tagalongs witnessed the whole thing, and the chatterbox immediately accused Yi of cheating. But this time it really was an accident. Yi confidently replied, Don't talk nonsense. I could sue you for slander. I'm following the rules. This junior sister did touch me just now. With that, she began forming the return spell. My task is done, so goodbye everyone. With a swish, she vanished from sight. But just as Yi returned to the sect, disciples from other clans surrounded her. They all wanted to know how a genius like her was made. Yi didn't hide anything and said openly, working hard, impossible. Read more, watch less, eat fewer snacks, sleep more. Got it? The disciples who heard her were stunned, unsure how to respond. Lin Yu quickly stepped up to smooth things over. What my junior sister means is that effort alone isn't enough. You also have to go with the flow, you can't force it. Hearing her senior sister talk nonsense even more smoothly than she did, Yi couldn't help thinking. The younger generation really surpasses the old. My senior sister can bluff even better than me. When Lin Yu returned to their room, she found Yi curled up on the bed as usual. Knowing Yi wasn't asleep yet, she scolded her. Yi, I saw everything. You actually tried to give away your feather during the trial. Senior sister, listen to my explanation. I just thought the trial was too hard, so I wanted to give the outer sect disciples some benefits. Lin Yu sighed helplessly. You only ever think about slacking. After tomorrow's opening ceremony, what will you do if you don't pick a good sword? Her words made Yi feel guilty through so many loops. Her senior sister had always taken care of her like a mother, while she, this hopeless romantic, had eyes only for the male lead. Seeing her senior sister cultivating by the bed, she thought this was the perfect chance to repay her. Senior sister, relax. Next, just follow what I say. First like this, then like that. Lin Yu froze for a moment, then she shifted into a different handseal posture. Moments later, her face filled with joy. The spiritual energy that had been dormant for so long was finally showing signs of activity. But she had never heard of that method before, so she guessed Yi probably had her own unique cultivation technique. She planned to thank her, but when she turned around, Gi was already fast asleep. When Gi woke up again, she congratulated her senior sister on her advancement. But the story was getting stranger and stranger. Not only had an unclothed Hongji appeared out of nowhere, even the male lead was hanging out with the villains. Yet despite the plot going completely off track, she still wasn't sent back to day one. Gi couldn't help doubting herself. Did I take the wrong storyline? It wasn't until the afternoon, when she came to choose her life-bound sword, that she resigned herself and thought she might as well go with the flow, while the disciples with her were visibly excited. The sword tomb supposedly held the great ancestral swords. They had no idea what those swords looked like, but they still couldn't stop fantasizing about being the chosen lucky one. Gi, however, knew exactly what the holy sword looked like. The problem was, that sword belonged to the male lead. Then a deep, muffled sound echoed as the gate of the sword tomb opened, and a surge of force burst out, not mere wind but sword spirit aura. Gi and the quicker disciples formed hand seals to block it, while the slower ones were struck directly by the aura. Once it faded, the disciples rushed toward the depths of the tomb, terrified that someone else might grab the good swords first. Gi, in contrast, looked like an outlier, strolling lazily and examining the weapons by the entrance. Her senior brother panicked. "Junior sister, hurry up. Don't stare at that trash by the door. None of those have sword spirits." But before he finished speaking, the huge gate slammed shut. At that moment, the elders outside panicked as well because the sword tomb had been opened mainly for Gi. Everyone else knew the treasures were deep inside. Only Gi was picking through the junk at the door. The moment Gi reached out her hand, the elders outside shouted, "Dame! Dame!" terrified she might actually pick some piece of junk. What they didn't know was that the ordinary-looking sword in front of her was the legendary treasure even the ancestor praised. But to avoid changing the storyline, she withdrew her hand. The elders all sighed in relief. Only for the next second, they were collectively stunned as Gi, after thinking for just 1 second, decisively pulled out a paper fan. Suddenly, a voice echoed in her mind, "Girl, you've got good eyes." Gi looked around in confusion, trying to locate the source of the voice. At that moment, she thought of a possibility, leaned close to the fan and whispered, "Good morning, Makapaka." But the fan didn't react at all. Seeing this, Gi finally relaxed. She had picked trash on purpose to keep slacking. If she still picked up a treasure, that would be too ridiculous. Meanwhile, deep inside the sword tomb, the disciples finally realized Gi was missing. They had been instructed by Huai Shan to help her pick a great sword. But they got too excited after entering the tomb and completely forgot their mission. Ji Qing, being the senior brother, volunteered to search for her. When he returned to the entrance, he assumed his junior sister wouldn't actually be rummaging for junk here. But the next second he was slapped in the face by reality. Gi was right there holding a paper fan. His heart skipped a beat and a wave of bad premonition washed over him. He rushed forward to stop her, shouting, "Dame, Dame, junior sister, don't do anything rash." However, Gi acted as if she didn't hear him and began forming the contract seals on her own. Suddenly, surprise flashed across her face. This seemingly ordinary fan was actually a great divine sword in essence. But her hands didn't stop. Runes appeared one after another across the fan's surface. Only after completing the entire contract did she lift the fan with satisfaction to inspect it. At that moment, Ji Qing froze like a statue. "Junior sister, you're a sword cultivator. How could you choose a fan as your life-bound weapon? Master will be devastated." Gi, however, said confidently that a life-bound weapon only needed to suit its owner. "Don't you think this fan suits me perfectly?" She then pointed toward the depths of the sword tomb, offering to help Ji Qing choose as well, and promised she wasn't going to pick trash. Then the fan's pendant caught her attention. The charm's rune patterns were extremely intricate, far beyond what modern talisman crafting could achieve. Gi guessed it must be ancient. The silver bell swayed lightly as if replying, "Girl, you have good eyes." Hearing that familiar voice, Gi halted. Her reaction was immediately noticed by Ji Qing, who asked with concern what had happened. Gi casually brushed it off and tucked the fan against her chest. As expected, the silver bell stayed behind. Based on her past life experience, Gi instantly understood. This silver bell was the true spirit of the weapon. To make it easier to carry, Gi simply pierced her ear on the spot and hung the silver bell on it as she walked. It chimed with a crisp ringing sound. Suddenly, Gi pointed at a long sword and said, "That one." Ji Qing trusted his junior sister's judgment. So he reached out and drew the sword without hesitation. But the moment he gripped it, Gi beside him exclaimed, "Not good." The instant Ji Qing touched the sword, his spiritual power was drained dry, and Gi reacted immediately. She quickly formed seals and summoned the giant spirit formation, gathering the surrounding spiritual power. With a wave of her small hand, the power streamed into Ji Qing like flowing water. Ji Qing stared at Gi in shock. He thought he was done for, never expecting his junior sister to be this powerful. Gi noticed he was distracted and reminded him to focus on controlling the sword. But this state didn't last long before her expression grew heavy. If this continued, she herself would be drained as well. So she made a decision that would make her ancestors cry, shouting, "Magic power activate!" on the surface while secretly turning on a cheat. In the next second, Ji Qing's face froze in disbelief. Gi's cultivation had jumped straight to mid-foundation stage. But he knew this wasn't the time to be shocked. He quickly formed seals with both hands, and the sword bone behind him burst into radiant light. Yet at the moment the contract completed, Gi was completely stunned. It turned out Ji Qing's cultivation had shot up to peak foundation stage under the sword spirit's feedback, and if the sect traced it back to her, how was she supposed to keep slacking off and napping? Ji Qing meanwhile was in an excellent mood. "Many thanks, junior sister Meng." Stop, shut up." Gi cut him off. "What happened today stays between heaven, earth, you and me, got it? If the elders ask, say I was just a passerby watching the drama." After the sword selection ceremony, Gi returned to her usual lifestyle. Lying on her bed, legs crossed, fanning herself, enjoying life. Still, she was curious. The contract was clearly complete, yet she couldn't see anything. "Do you want to know why?" That strange voice appeared again. Gi was about to answer when Lin Yu suddenly rushed in. She even brought Jiang, who had just entered the inner sect. "Senior sister has a rare day off, so I made some pastries." But when she caught sight of Gi's lifebound fan, she couldn't help consoling her. Don't be upset." "Upset about what?" Gi munched on pastries, utterly confused. Jiang, however, thought she was pretending to be calm, so she changed the topic quietly. "When I came in, I saw senior brother Gu standing outside for a long time." Hearing that, Lin Yu instantly tensed up, terrified someone might steal her precious junior sister. Gi sighed helplessly. No matter how many times she reincarnated, her senior sister still hated Gu Junchao. "Senior sister, he's an inner sect disciple too. Let him come in." But when Gu Junchao entered, he was holding a pillow. "Gi, your pillow ended up on my bed. Since I had time today, I brought it back." The moment Lin Yu heard the word pillow, she exploded. She instantly transformed into a snarling guard dog. "Gi is only 13. Gu Junchao, you beast." Pure-hearted Jiang simply thought the senior brother and sister got along well. But Lin Yu was grinding her teeth, ready to bite if Gu Junchao so much as crossed a line. Knowing the situation, Gu Junchao simply tossed the pillow to Gi. Gi caught it and, as if no one else existed, immediately fell asleep. Seeing this, Gu Junchao wisely took his leave, while Lin Yu was already burning with rage. She followed him out of the courtyard before finally demanding, "Why was Gi's favorite pillow in your hands? What did you do to her?" "As you saw, she slept in my bed before the mountain opening ceremony." Gu Junchao stated the truth, which only made Lin Yu even angrier. She wanted to beat him senseless. So he really is after our Gi. "I tolerated what happened before, but until you're strong enough, don't even think about touching my cabbage. No, don't even think about getting close to Gi." Gu Junchao smiled lightly. "Understood. Thank you for the reminder, senior sister Lin." After saying that, he left straight away, leaving Lin Yu stunned. No way. Is that kid actually serious? Meanwhile, inside the room, Jiang saw the plate licked completely clean and happily returned to cultivation, while Gi continued pretending to sleep. Once Jiang was gone, Gi tried talking to the fan. "Bro, you there? If you're not, make a squeak." This time, the fan actually responded, its first sentence being a question about why Gi wasn't cultivating. "Cultivate my ass. I'm a villain anyway. With a cannon fodder fate like mine, training is pointless." She looked completely apathetic. The fan spirit didn't understand what villain or cannon fodder meant, but her attitude still irritated him. But her attitude still angered him. "My previous master ascended at 100 years old as the top genius, and now I'm stuck with a professional slacker?" But Gi's Dao heart was literally slacking off, so she lay back down. "If you don't like it, you can leave. I'm not stopping you." This enraged the fan spirit that he smacked her forehead with a sharp paw. "I call you useless and you don't even react. I am the mighty Swain fan, I have dignity." Then he floated back into the air, spinning left 3 times and right 3 times, turning twice in midair before light burst forth, forming 18 long swords. Even after living 100 lifetimes, Gi couldn't help feeling shocked. I picked this junk out of a trash heap, yet it has tricks. No wonder it appeared in the sword tomb. But then she realized a serious problem. Using something like this to fan herself, wouldn't she risk slicing herself in half? Thinking of that, she grabbed the fan and cursed, "What a piece of trash. Totally useless." The fan spirit thought that showing off its abilities would make Gi change her mind, but instead it was met with disdain. "You ungrateful brat. Ever since I was created, countless cultivators have fought themselves half dead just to claim me that I'm unmatched in offense and defense. How am I useless? Then get lost. Why are you shouting so loud? Don't you know you're noisy?" Gi now wore a face full of misery. Her blatant slacking lately had finally angered all the elders. So Huaishan issued a final warning. "From now on, if you fail the monthly exam, I'll watch you practice swordsmanship every single day." Just then a familiar voice called out, "Good morning, senior sister." Gi instinctively turned her head as expected. It was Gu Junchao, so she replied perfunctorily, "Morning." Then she leaned against a pillar and started dozing off again. Jiu Junchao immediately understood. Her sleepiness had kicked in. Suddenly he jolted. If she kept sleeping, she'd be late for the exam. He strode forward, ready to scoop Gi up. But Gi had anticipated this and shifted aside to dodge him. She didn't expect his hands to be even faster. He lifted her and tucked her right under his arm. Then he dashed toward the exam grounds. Gi was furious. This brat actually predicts my movement now? Being carried like baggage all the way attracted a whole crowd of onlookers. Seeing this, Gi nearly cried, "Wah, my innocence is gone." Only after entering the exam hall did Gu Junchao finally set her down. Gi smoothed her robes and said, "Thanks, junior brother," before dashing inside. But inside the exam hall, while everyone else was scribbling furiously, Gi was sound asleep. When she finally blinked awake, she found herself standing above the clouds. Not far away stood Gu Junchao, smiling beautifully. Gi instinctively reached out, but then a figure brushed past her. "Jun, have you been waiting for me?" Watching the two gaze at each other affectionately, Gi thought. In the past she would have rushed over to tear them apart. But now her heart didn't even ripple. "Oh, so your wings have grown. Peeking into my mind now?" As if confirming her suspicion, the fan spirit appeared out of thin air. "So you have lived many lifetimes. No wonder you slack off and still dominate." Hearing this, Gi felt a wave of gloom. But the thought of someone probing her inner world made her expression instantly darken. She raised her left hand in anger and slammed it downward without hesitation. Her sudden table slap startled every examinee around her, and she used the moment to hand in her paper early. But the moment she stepped out of the exam hall, weakness washed over her. The next second she collapsed backward. She knew it was backlash from forcibly breaking the illusion. "Am I dying?" "Dying my ass. You're forming your core. Sit up and cultivate." Gi froze for a moment, then immediately sat up to meditate. She had only just reached foundation establishment. If she formed her core now and got caught, she'd scare half the sect to death. As her hand seals shifted rapidly, the fan spirit instantly sensed something off. Gi was suppressing her breakthrough, and she was using an ancient sealing formation. "Girl, how do you even know this formation?" "Obviously, I learned it from you. You invaded my spiritual sea. Of course you have to pay some price. Don't tell me you thought you could freeload. Still, that sealing array is pretty useful. With this thing, I won't level up so fast that I can keep slacking." Thinking that, her mood brightened and she rolled over to sleep again. When she woke up, she found herself lying in the middle of the road. "Senior sister, you're finally awake. Your sword duel exam is about to start." Only then did Gi remember she still had a combat test. She picked up her sword and stepped onto the stage. "Junior brother, show mercy. Please go easy on me. Go easy, my ass. If I lose, master will force me to train every day. I'll just give you a quick defeat." The moment the referee shouted begin, the boy charged at her with his sword. Gi simply rotated her own sword with a calm expression. With a crisp clang, the boy's sword was sent flying. The referee immediately declared, "Victory goes to Qingyun Peaks Gi." Hearing the result, Gi walked off the stage at an unhurried pace. As she reached the edge of the arena, a sudden wave of drowsiness hit her, and her body swayed as she collapsed toward the ground. At the last possible moment, Hong Ji darted out from the side and caught Gui Yi firmly. Dragging Gui along, she couldn't help complaining, "You really can sleep anywhere." Lin Yu saw Gui being dragged across the floor and wanted to help, but she had no way to intervene. Hong Ji's status was too high and she couldn't afford to offend her. When Gui woke up again, she saw Hong Ji holding her underwear, which now had 2 holes in it. "You bastard, what did you do to my underwear?" Hong Ji, guilty, burned it on the spot. As long as the underwear no longer existed, the holes on it had nothing to do with her. 3 days without a beating and you're already climbing the roof. Believe it or not, I'll pluck your feathers, turn them into underwear, shove it over your head and make you wear chicken pants like a caged bird. Hearing that, Hong Ji immediately changed the subject. "My cultivation was forcibly suppressed that I could only see a tiny bit." Gui hadn't expected the ancient spirit ceiling formation to be this strong. Even the divine eye of the scarlet-feathered illusion bird couldn't see through it. "So, is this fan I picked up actually useful?" Hearing that, the fan spirit was deeply moved. "Well, I'm finally not a useless piece of trash anymore." 2 days earlier, Gui had asked her master for permission to enter seclusion. On the surface, it was to improve her cultivation. But in truth, she just wanted to skip the exam and legally hide away to sleep. What a perfect plan. Hearing this, Huaishan hesitated. "Your cultivation is still shallow. Seclusion won't do much for you." He then took out a parchment scroll and added, "I was planning to send you into the mortal world for some training. You could broaden your horizons there." Gui was stunned. This plotline didn't exist in her memory. Only after opening the map did she realize how huge the true wind continent actually was. Before, her head was filled only with Gu Junchao. She never cared about the outside world. Then she suddenly remembered how the storyline kept drifting off track lately, yet the world itself wasn't resetting. Maybe this was a good chance to find the story's heroine and ask her directly. After all, the heroine was a transmigrator. So she accepted Huaishan's proposal. "All right, I'll leave the mountain in 2 days." But on the day of departure, she was full of black lines. "Why are you all here?" We were worried and I don't want to be separated from senior sister." Gui sighed helplessly. She thought she'd be going out alone to have some fun, but apparently it had turned into a whole group trip. Suddenly, someone bumped her shoulder and she stumbled, about to fall. A pair of large hands caught her steadily. After seeing who it was, she instantly pulled herself out of his arms. "Seriously, why are you everywhere?" Gu Junchao smiled lightly, saying that the elder had permitted him to accompany them. Gui felt helpless, then thought about it again. She was going to look for this guy's love interest, so bringing him along wasn't exactly unreasonable. Before long, they reached their first destination, the coral city on the border of Manhwa. But the moment they entered the city, Lin Yu pointed ahead in shock. From a single glance, the streets were filled with ragged beggars, all swarming toward them. Seeing how thin and pale they all looked, Lin Yu couldn't bear it and handed out some loose silver. At that moment, a beggar tugged on Gui sleeve, begging for food. But Gui simply flung his hand off. Then she walked straight toward the sex relay station without looking back. Gu Junchao was stunned. "I thought girls were always kind." What nonsense are you talking about? I don't cultivate the path of good karma, so I have no need to form benevolent ties." But the moment the words left her mouth, she regretted it. She really did sound like a villain. Unexpectedly, Gu Junchao burst out laughing, saying her way of thinking was so strange. Gui, on the other hand, was speechless. "Seriously, is this guy's brain fried? How is that funny?" She opened her map and ignored him. Her top priority right now was finding the story's heroine, Hua Longyue. Guided by memories from her past life, Yi knew that Hua Longyue often helped the poor, and this small border city was so barren that even foreign nations couldn't be bothered to invade it. So this place was highly likely to be where she could encounter the heroine, and all she needed to do was wait for Hua Longyue to show up. With that thought, she simply lay down and went straight to sleep. In the end, it was Gu Junzhao who carried her back to the post station. Suddenly, Lin Yu rushed in, grabbed Gi by the collar, shaking her while shouting, "Wake up! Stop sleeping! Senior brother Ji Qing is about to be violated by beggars." Gi yawned and replied casually, "He's a cultivator, that it's not like a group of beggars can actually kill him." Lin Yu heard this and felt it somehow made sense, and guilt rose in her chest since everything had started because of her. Half an hour later, Ji Qing finally returned in a miserable state, startling everyone. They hadn't expected those beggars to be that vicious. Thankfully, his underwear was still intact. Ji Qing then recounted his experience. Just when his chastity was about to be compromised, a buff young man with impressive pecs had saved him. Upon hearing a young man with big chest muscles, Gi immediately guessed that this person was likely Hua Longyue. After all, at this point in the story, the heroine was known for disguising herself as a man. A short while later, in a narrow alley, Hua Longyue, dressed as a young man, was shaking the pouch of coins in her hand. She hadn't expected to run into someone from the Taiching sect here. If she'd arrived a moment later, that guy might have been left wearing only his underwear. Just then, a voice came from atop the courtyard wall. He finally found you. Hua Longyue turned toward the sound. The moment she saw Gi, she thought the girl was stunning, like someone who'd walked straight out of an anime. Gi tilted her head with a lazy smile. You made me wait so long I almost fell asleep. But before she could finish, a wave of drowsiness hit her. Hua Longyue was about to speak when she watched the girl topple straight off the wall. Startled, she flashed forward and caught Gi in her arms, confused why this little girl fell asleep mid-sentence. Holding the limp girl, Hua Longyue stared blankly, wondering if this was some new kind of scam. Meanwhile, Gi was fully immersed in the soft warmth she'd landed in, murmuring, worthy of being the story's heroine, so soft, so comfy, I could lie here forever. So this is the type my senior sister likes, huh? I was wondering why you suddenly disappeared. Hearing a familiar voice, Gi looked up and froze for 2.5 seconds. It was Gu Junzhao. Then she glanced left and right, breaking into an auntie-like grin. Wonderful, wonderful, the male and female leads have finally met. Hua Longyue recognized the boy as someone from the Taiching sect and gently set Gi down. Yet Gi suddenly got excited and asked whether the two had clicked instantly, whether they felt love at first sight. Hua Longyue, baffled, pressed her forehead to Gi's to check if the girl had a fever. Otherwise, why was she spouting nonsense like this? But that sudden closeness made Gi blush hard. She quickly reminded herself, she's a girl. Why the hell am I blushing like a boiling teapot? Once she calmed down, she fell into deep thought again. The book clearly stated the two were supposed to fall in love at first sight, but nothing here looked remotely like that. Great, just great. The plot's crooked again. I'm just a tiny villain side character. If the male and female leads don't want to fall in love, what's the point of my existence? The next second her brain simply crashed and she collapsed. Hua Longyue hurried over. What happened to her? Would you believe me if I said she fell asleep? Gu Junzhao reached out, asking Hua Longyue to hand Gi over so he could take her back to the inn. But Hua Longyue didn't trust him. Even if you're from the same sect, I'm not handing her over. Gu Junzhao felt it was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. I'm from the Taiching sect. Since when does an outsider get to question me? But Hua Longyue still refused to let go. Not even if Gi knew him. After all, in modern times, many girls are harmed by people they know. So she pulled out a 40-meter fire-poking staff and warned, try anything funny and my fire stick won't show mercy. Meanwhile, Gi looked unconscious, but she had actually hidden herself inside her inner realm. She was simply exhausted from overthinking and went inside to rest. The Suiyun fan was speechless. Is this really okay? Those two outside are about to fight because of you. Gi didn't take it seriously at first. After all, in the original story, the two met for the first time because they fought over a treasure. But this guy actually used a killing move. Oh crap, they're going all in. Only then did Gi realize things were going south. The next second she snapped back to reality. Luckily, Hua Longyue had decent strength and caught Gu Junzhao's strike head-on. Seeing this, Gi shouted, "What are you two doing?" Both immediately withdrew their weapons and asked whether she was all right. Gi, meanwhile, wondered what had just happened. Hua Longyue explained that he tried to take her away and she feared he might do something beastly. Gu Junzhao only snorted coldly, clearly offended. Understanding the whole situation now, Gi couldn't help admiring her, worthy of the story's heroine, gorgeous and righteous. She even wanted to cuddle her, so she smiled and said, "Thank you." Hua Longyue replied, "Not at all. Girls protecting girls, nothing more normal." Gi paused for a moment. Why did she suddenly reveal she was a girl? Hua Longyue reached out to help Gi stand, but Gu Junzhao beat her to it. "Since you're awake, senior sister, let's go back." But after taking only 2 steps, Gi turned back toward Hua Longyue. "Awei, come to our inn for a chat when you have time. You must come." Hua Longyue agreed happily. Only when Gi walked away did she realize something was wrong. She had never introduced herself, yet the girl said her name perfectly. Not long after, Gi returned to the Sex Inn. Having successfully found the heroine today, she was in a great mood and planned to reward herself with a nice nap. Suddenly, someone grabbed her shoulder firmly. When she turned back and saw it was Gu Junzhao, she was confused. Why did he look like he'd swallowed a bomb? Did he find out I took advantage of Hua Longyue? Gu Junzhao stammered for a long moment, then finally asked seriously, do you really hate me that much? He genuinely wanted to know how Gi saw him. Even though they stood face to face, it felt like a gulf stretched between them. I don't talk nonsense, Gi replied flatly. But that only made Gu Junzhao more lost. He thought he understood many kinds of people, yet he couldn't read Gi at all. The two walked back in silence until they reached the inn. Lin Yu immediately lunged forward and hugged Gi. Why did you run off alone? What if you got sleepy outside? But when she noticed Gu Junzhao behind her, she instantly dragged Gi inside and told Gu Junzhao to go check the sex commissions, clearly trying to send him away. Lin Yu wasn't about to let a man steal her cabbage. 5 hours later, Gi was awakened by voices inside the room. The voices sounded familiar. She rubbed her eyes and looked around the room, only to find that besides her senior sister, there was also a young man inside. You're finally awake, how rare. Originally, Hua Longyue had come because Gi invited her for a chat. But she unexpectedly learned that Taiqing sect had accepted a commission to investigate why the vitality of Haiyan Nation was drying up. Hearing this, Gi was surprised. Why was the plot derailing again? Anyway, with both the male and female leads here, they should uncover something. Lin Yu was just as troubled. She had no idea how to even start this mission. She then shot a vicious glare at the culprit, Gu Junzhao. You accepted this mission, you're responsible. Gu Junzhao had no objections. Finding the cause won't be easy. Have you really thought this through? Hua Longyue subtly hinted they should give up. But the moment Gu Junzhao realized she was the one speaking, he exploded like he'd swallowed fireworks. Why are you even here? How is that your business? It's not like I'm eating your rice. This is the Taiqing sect inn. Outsiders aren't allowed inside. After trading verbal jabs, the two instantly pulled out their weapons. Gi, watching from the side, saw they were about to fight again, and quietly crawled back into her blanket. She was completely done. Let them do whatever, they want to fight, fine. When in doubt, take a nap. And if that doesn't work, it just means she hasn't slept enough. So she fell asleep right in the middle of the commotion. Moments later, Lin Yu noticed Gi was out cold and shouted at the two fighters, if you want to fight, take it outside, don't wake the kid. The two froze when they heard that. Gu Junzhao answered softly and walked out of the room. But Hua Longyue did not leave. She was curious why Gi could sleep so much, and Lin Yu told her that Gi used to be nothing like this. Back then, Gi was spoiled and proud, but also a cultivation maniac who trained day and night, determined to become #1 under heaven. That made Hua Longyue even more confused. The girl snoring in front of her didn't look related to hardworking at all. Had something happened? Lin Yu agreed. But thinking back, nothing special had occurred. She only remembered that starting from March 15th, Gi suddenly changed and began slacking. Hearing it was a sudden shift on a specific day, Hua Longyue formed a bold guess. She herself had transmigrated since childhood. Could Gi be the same? When Lin Yu said she had something to handle and asked if Hua Longyue wanted to join, Hua declined, saying she needed to watch over Gi. After Lin Yu left, she quietly leaned to Gi's ear and whispered a transmigrator's code phrase. Odd stays, even changes. Signs follow quadrants. The heavenly king covers the tiger. The pagoda suppresses the river demon. Hearing this, Hua Longyue burst into tears. She hadn't expected to meet a fellow transmigrator here. She then looked at Gi with pity. Child, your past life must have been so hard. But Gi only looked utterly confused. Hard? I can sleep whenever I want in the sect. How is that suffering? And wasn't Hua Longyue misunderstanding something? Suddenly Hua Longyue's eyes lit up. Do you want to eat cake? The next second, a small strawberry cake appeared before Gi. She remembered this was the birthday cake Hua Longyue had made for Gu Junzhao. But today wasn't her birthday. Hua Longyue simply smiled and said, don't worry about that, if you like it, I can make one for you every day. Hearing this, Gui didn't hesitate anymore and picked up a piece to taste. The moment the cake entered her mouth, she was completely conquered by its soft, fluffy texture. Yet the sweeter the cake was, the more ridiculous her past self felt to her. Hua Longyue noticed the hint of sadness on her face and asked why she suddenly looked that way. Gui smiled and said it was because the cake was too good. She worried she might not get to eat it again. Hearing that, Hua Longyue immediately lit up. She already treated Gui like a younger sister and asked what flavor she liked so she could make more. Gui said she liked grape. Not wanting to disturb Gui's sleep, Hua Longyue didn't stay long. Before leaving, she also mentioned that she was investigating the matter of Haiyan. Gui still looked unconcerned, leaving the matter entirely to Hua Longyue, fully believing in her ability. Over the next few days, Hua Longyue brought her a piece of cake every day. This time as well it was Gui's favorite, grape. At that moment Lin Yu brought up Gu Junchao, saying he had been gone for 5 days with no news. Just as Lin Yu was about to ask whether they should go look for him, she realized Gui had already climbed into bed and fallen asleep. Gui actually understood what Lin Yu meant, but the plot had already drifted all the way to Siberia. She had zero intention of using her brain or getting involved. But that very night she had an extremely realistic dream. In it, Gu Junchao was covered in wounds, and there was even a fatal hole in his abdomen. Gu Junchao was dead. Suddenly she heard her senior sister's voice. "Junior sister Gui, wake up. Stop dawdling, we need to go down the mountain to exorcise spirits." Those painfully familiar words made the always calm Gui panic. She realized she had entered the loop again, returned to where the story first began. Then Lin Yu seemed like a different person, staring at her with a blank expression. "Do you want to go back? Back to the timeline where, even if you don't follow the plot, you don't have to reincarnate?" The question stunned Gui, but before she could think further, that ethereal voice returned. "If you wish to go back, then promise this. Do not let the 2 protagonists die without cause. You only have 1 chance. Cherish it." Right after that, Gui felt her body plummet downward, the weightlessness sending fear through her. When she opened her eyes again, she was still in that familiar room. Everything just now felt like a dream. She looked at the night outside, that if that dream was real, then there were only 2 hours left before Gu Junchao met his fate. She had to save him immediately. She activated her spiritual power and began forming hand seals. With a sharp whoosh, she shot toward Gu Junchao's location at extreme speed. At that moment, Gu Junchao was covered in wounds, slumped weakly on the ground. Looking at the man before him, he couldn't help mocking. The legendary leader of assassins actually has time to come kill a little cheer-finding scrub like me. But Long Shu had undergone professional training. Such simple taunts didn't faze him at all. Instead, he looked at Gu Junchao with interest. "Boy, how about a wager with me? Let's bet whether she will come save you. If she comes, I'll spare you. If she doesn't, I'll strip you naked and hang you on that pretty red coral. How about that?" The moment Gu Junchao heard Gui being dragged into this, his gaze turned icy. "Kill me if you want, spare me the nonsense. Gu will never coexist with gambling in this lifetime." "Very well, don't regret it." With a swift swish, the sharp sword thrust toward Gu Junchao. As if accepting his fate, Gu Junchao closed his eyes. At that critical moment, a palm fan blocked Long Shu's strike. Both men were shocked at the sight. Who else would use a fan as their life-bound weapon? Gui descended slowly from above. With a light flick of her Suiyun fan, she knocked Long Shu's sword aside again. "Touch a disciple of my Taiching sect again, and wash your ass clean to receive my wrath." Yet the first thing Gu Junchao said was a scolding. "Why did you come? Excuse me, what kind of attitude is that? You think this lady wanted to save you?" At that moment, Long Shu cut in with a smile. "Kid, looks like you won the bet." Hearing this, Gui frowned. What was going on? What did he mean Gu Junchao won? "I made a wager with that boy that if you came to save him, I would spare his life." With that, he released Gu Junchao's restraints. But Gui, having reincarnated 100 times, easily saw through his tricks. "Lord Long Shu, here's a tip. Draft your lies before telling them. First, my junior brother despises gambling. Second, you're an assassin. That if you really let him go, wouldn't that ruin your reputation?" Long Shu wasn't angered by being exposed. Instead, his curiosity toward Gui only deepened. At that moment, Gu Junchao noticed Gui quietly setting up a formation and realized a fierce battle was unavoidable. He tried to stand up to fight alongside her, only to be snapped at by Gui. "Sit still, don't make trouble for this lady." The next second, she leaped high into the air and launched her attack. As Long Shu countered, Gui feinted and swept past his side. Long Shu's eyes widened in shock. He never expected Gui to be this fast. Suddenly, the surrounding spiritual energy surged wildly toward her. As her hand signs shifted rapidly, the Suiyun fan burst into brilliant light. At the same time, several spirit swords materialized around Long Shu. Only then did he realize, her attack had been a distraction. She had been laying a formation around him. Gui clapped her hands together, and the entire cyan formation split apart, leaving Long Shu stunned once again. Although he prided himself on being the best at formations, he had never seen one as complex as this. Yet Gui didn't pursue him. Instead, she first fed Gu Junchao a stand-up-and-stare pill. Then she grabbed him to flee. Run. Gu Junchao glanced at the trapped Long Shu. Were you not fighting? Gu Yi simply answered with a short boom. She activated her power to fly off on her sword, but the moment they lifted off, Gu Junchao actually jumped off the sword by himself. She was forced to save the man she disliked the most, and not only did he refuse to run, he even charged back in to die again. The girl was furious enough to curse aloud. To avoid falling into another time loop, she had to keep the story's male and female leads alive, so she could only pinch her nose and go rescue him again. Suddenly, a round bulging cloth bag was thrown toward her. Inside was Gui Yi's favorite cake. Yi, good job. Leave the rest to me. Seeing that the one who arrived was Hua Longyue, the female lead, Gui Yi finally relaxed. She hid in a corner and gnawed on her cake, fully in spectator mode. Not far away, Long Shu couldn't help complaining. Fellow Taoist, this is a bit unfair. You let two newbies fight me while you hide in the back eating. Huh? You chickening out? Gui Yi replied while stuffing cake into her mouth. Hearing her muffled response, Long Shu's face instantly darkened. Standing between the two of them, Hua Longyue smiled. Lord Long Shu, you can look down on that man, but don't underestimate me. Long Shu immediately denied it. Nothing of the sort. But his tone was perfunctory and his gaze never left Gui Yi. So you do like Gui Yi, huh? Hua Longyue's expression gradually turned cold. The next second she stomped off the ground and launched a sudden attack. Long Shu counter-thrust instantly, but Hua Longyue flipped backward, dodging with ease, and the person behind her, Gu Junchao, became the next target. Hua Longyue grabbed Gu Junchao by the collar and threw him backward. Bang! Gu Junchao slammed into the wall. Even Long Shu froze. Why is this woman attacking her own teammate? But the next moment he lost his composure. Hua Longyue's blade kept swinging, and the red glow coating it was clearly Gu Junchao's blood. Only then did Long Shu understand. She was using his blood to power a living blood sacrifice killing formation. Meanwhile, Gui Yi appeared to be slacking, but in truth she had been controlling the formation from the shadows all along. And now, the killing array activates. As the two finished speaking, Hua Longyue swiftly summoned a Guqin. Her fingertips danced across the strings, and the killing intent radiating from the melody was suffocating. The next second, Long Shu spat blood, his aura collapsing rapidly. Seeing this, Hua Longyue's smile grew colder. Sorry, I'm a sound cultivator, and it seems Gui Yi knows me quite well. Watching that smile, Gui Yi nearly choked. Holy crap, heroine, could you tone down that expression? Why do you look more like the villain now? The male lead went off script. Are you going off script too? Hua Longyue originally intended to execute Long Shu on the spot. But then she reconsidered. Long Shu was merely a killer taking a paid job. To eliminate future trouble. The real target should be the mastermind behind him. So she proposed cooperation. But Long Shu had no intention of giving up. As an assassin, his reputation mattered. Then Hua Longyue offered a solution. Eliminate the client who issued the mission. With the client dead, no bad reviews would exist. Hearing this, Gui Yi froze completely. A proper righteous heroine. Why is she talking like a straight-up bandit boss?